All right, so here are some basics of LucidChart. Just keep in mind that there are two different kinds of products from Lucid. There's LucidChart and LucidSpark. When it comes to process mapping, we want to stay in LucidChart and not go into LucidSpark. Okay, so we got LucidChart. I'm going to walk you through the essential shapes that you'll need to know. Kind of what's happening in the left sidebar here, and then also what's happening in the toolbar at the top. Okay, so let's start with our essential shapes. So when you grab here a box like that, I use that for anytime a person has to do an action. So you see I've even written here, person does action. So this might be like Tim sends invoice, or Denise pulls report, something like that. So it's always gonna be a person doing an action. Next up from down in here, we've got our decision diamond. And so typically we're gonna put what the decision is in here, and then out of that is gonna come a few different possibilities based on the decision. You'll see that in action. Then from there we've got arrows. There's a few ways arrows can get created. If you go to the left sidebar here, an arrow can appear like that. Another way that arrows can show up is if you just do this, and that, right? So that's another way that you can get arrows created, especially if you're using the same kind of box over and over and over again, or multiple diamonds, anytime it's the same shape over and over again. This big T right here, this is your text box. So that's where you can put any kind of text. Just know that you can also just double click here, it says text, and you can add text here. So you don't have to put a text box over top of a square or a text box over top of a diamond. Text goes here. All shapes allow you to put text in there already. This would be more so useful if it's like a title, let's say, of the whole diagram. So, this is the title, and I could grab something like that, and I could go with, something like that. This is the title. So I find that's oftentimes where I'm using the text box, is more so for a title or just kind of naming different areas. Okay, this next one is really interesting. This is what's called, a hotspot. So you grab that, and a hotspot allows you to link anything you want here. So if I double click this, I could put google.com, convert to embedded link, and guess what? Just like that, if I click here, it'll take me out to Google. So that can be really helpful in a range of ways. One of my favorite ways to use it is to link 360 delegations. So I'll put a hotspot there. I've created a fictitious 360 delegation here called How to Get Ice Cream for Friends. Clearly it's not done, but that's okay. I'm gonna go share. I'm gonna grab this link. I don't know if you have to make this visible to anyone on the internet or not. I think whoever you send it to, as long as they're logged in and have GDocs access to the destination document, that it should be fine. So, but just to play it safe, I put anyone with the link can view, copying the link there, done. And I'm going to come back to my process map here. I'm going to double click that, paste it in, make sure to click convert to embedded link. And now you can see that it actually even has the name of the 360D right there. It's kind of small, but it says 360D, how to get ice cream for friends. So I could click on that right there. It's going to open the GDoc inline inside of LucidChart, or I can click this right here to take me out to its own standalone tab. Alternatively, I know you can't see my fingers, but if I go Command Shift click, it'll just go straight to the external document. Okay, so that's a hotspot. And then one function I find myself doing over and over again, especially when I've got multiple steps in a row, is duplicating. So watch what happens if I've selected this box here. I could just keep hitting Command D, Command D, Command D, and it will duplicate whatever the shape is. So if it's multiple decision diamonds, then it looks like that. And I'm just hitting Command Z to undo. So I'm on a Mac. I'm not sure if on a PC it's a little bit different. It might be Control, maybe it's Command. I'm not familiar with PCs, but I'm sure the same functionality is there. So duplicating with Command D. All right, so let's look at a example in the wild here. So I'm going to start with me going to get ice cream. So I'm going to just go Command D here. I'm going to bring my title down, and this process map is getting ice cream ice cream for friends. Okay, so I've used a text box right there. As you start using shapes, they'll start getting collecting here in this shapes in use, so you won't have to go all the way down in here. You can just keep using this up here. So I've got getting ice cream for friends. So clearly I've used a square here. Remember, a square is going to be a person doing an action. Let me pull this up here. And so we've got Tim walk to ice cream shop. Let's say I get to the ice cream shop. So now I need to decide, am I going to buy ice cream or not? And so maybe my decision is one cone $5 or less? Okay, and so that's a decision that I have to make. Now that one cone, if it's $5 or less, what am I going to do? If it is $5 or less, then I'm going to buy the ice cream. Buy ice cream cone for each friend, or I'll just put for friend. For friends, I should say buy one ice cream cone for each friend, just like so. And how do I know which ice cream cones each of my friends wants? Well, that's a perfect time to pull this out. And perhaps this links to a decision-making guideline document or a 360D on what each of my friends wants. And so I could grab this link here once again, copying that link just like so. And here we are going to add the link, create an embedded link. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to buy one ice cream cone for each friend. This is getting a little bit cluttered, so I'm just going to drag this down, pull this title up. Okay, so Tim's going to walk to ice cream shop. I'm going to click and drag and connect that. Why I want to connect it is so that if I move it around, that arrow stays connected. So I've got a decision diamond to make. So if yes, you can see that in LucidChart, it actually, because it's a decision diamond, it pre-populates a yes or no. If you ever need to take that off, you can just click that and you could change it to something else, but I'll leave it as yes for now. And then from there, I'm going to duplicate this. And if the cone is more than $5, then I don't want to buy it. It's too expensive. So then I'm going to buy, go to 7-Eleven and get Slurpees instead. Slurpees instead. Okay, so I'm going to take that. We're going to go like that. Keep in mind, and it's actually prompting me, do I want line color with yes to go to green and no to red? Yeah, that's a nice touch. So you can see it's made the no line red and the yes line green. Now keep in mind too, you can also adjust the shapes of these and whatnot. I actually think it's whatever you choose to do, I would stay consistent. So if you're gonna have yes coming off here and no going off there, then I would do that throughout the diagram. Or you could theoretically do it like that, where we've got both options coming out of the same endpoint. But in this instance, I do like the idea of there being two distinct paths. So I've got my yes and my no. I will typically move the text closer, just like that, so it's all very, very clear, right? I don't know why it gave me two little text box there. Maybe I can just delete that. Okay, great. Okay, so in this case, I've got some decision-making guidelines around getting Slurpees. So I'd pull that down there, and then I would have a separate 360D or DMG list there. I like to connect when there's some kind of action when it's attached to a 360D. Then I'm going to typically create a connection like that. Now, an arrow indicates direction, but there isn't actually direction as much as there's a relationship. So that's why I'll come up here. I'm going to take off that arrow, and I oftentimes will also turn it into a dotted line and maybe make it a little bit thicker. So now it gets the sense this is connected, but it's not necessarily like the next step in the process. And so what a next step in the process could look like, actually I could just go like this, and then maybe this is walk home, and maybe this goes there as well. Okay, So now, obviously, I've done a very, very simple job so far. And actually, I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. I'll typically put a start and a finish like this, start, and then from there, I'll take this octagon and I'll make this the finish, finish, and we'll line it all up like so. There we go. Okay, so this is very simple. I'm going to show you a little bit of formatting here. Before I go to the formatting, I'll just mention that this is an absurdly simple example, right? Like this whole thing could be in a 360D. Maybe it doesn't even need a 360D depending on how simple it is. So don't mistake the simplicity of this as being indicative of what your process map should absolutely look like. More than anything, this is not a tutorial on process maps. This is a tutorial on LucidChart. So I'm just showing you how you can use the different features together. Okay, in terms of some formatting, I do want to make sure that I've got arrows connecting everything. My start, I'll come up here to the bucket and I'll make it green typically. And then I'll make the font or the text white so it's easy to read. And I'll bold it up as well. That usually makes it stand out just a little bit. 12 point. My finish, I'm typically going to fill that with red. I'm going to make that white as well. I'm going to bold that up, make it a little bit bigger too. This is a little big, so I typically shrink that down so it's kind of a similar size to the start. Oh, you can select multiple elements, by the way. So if I click start and finish, I can select those two, and I could, let's say, get them to the same font. So now they're both 10 point if it was looking too big. Or if I wanted to justify them to the top, which I don't, but I could do that, to the bottom or to the middle, just like that. And it's doing both of them at the same time. Okay, so that's there. My slight OCD likes to see kind of some symmetry here. So I'm probably gonna do something more like that, which just makes it a little bit prettier. Start and finish are almost at the same height. And we're missing a connection here, so let me make that connection. Again, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to make it a dotted line, I'm going to put no end point, I'm going to bump that up to 3 points, so that's connected as well. And let's get that straightened out ever so much. I can grab that and just, whoops. Make sure I've got my connection selected, and then there we go, move that over. So as you can see, there's lots that you can accomplish with really just a few shapes. And it's a very, very powerful tool to connect everything together. As a reminder from the process mapping course, I think that the process map is really like the backbone, and inside of a process map is where you can hold your 360Ds. And then inside of your 360Ds is where you can hold SOPs, training, DMGs, other connections to people they should work with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. For more information on how to do process mapping and all the best practices, watch our training on process mapping. But in terms of the basics of LucidChart, this will get you off to a very, very good start. Hope that helps.